A gimbal is a very popular tool in filmmaking. These days you have multiple types and price classes. That's why it's accessible for everyone. However, using a gimbal isn't that simple, so we want to show you 20 creative gimbal movements. What up you guys, Janik here for Cinecom.net and it's Creative Tuesday, a weekly series where we think outside of the box and share some exciting filmmaking tips. And you are probably thinking, why am I in this set again? Well, Jordi is still not finished with his project and he needs all the lights. That's why I'm in this crazy laboratory. But before we start with his awesome movements, let's have a look at this beauty. It's a Benro RedDog hand gimbal, which was sent to us. First of all, thank you Benro for sponsoring this episode. It's a normal 3-axis gimbal stabilizer, so anyone can follow along. You don't need this gimbal in particular, but we are going to use it throughout the video. At all time you can click in the description below to find out more about this gimbal. Anyhow, let's continue and start with the movements. First, we'll start off with some basic moves. The first is probably the most used movement with a gimbal. Of course, I'm talking about the travel in and out. Simply walk towards your talent which is standing still. Different focal lengths can help you tell your visual story. Using a wide-angle lens to travel out, you create a more establishing shot, introducing the talent in the environment. But when using a tele lens to travel in, you emphasize the emotions the talent has. This movement also has variations, such as the low-angle travel in. Some gimbals allow you to hold it upside down, however the Benro RedDog has a carry mode, which allows you to twist the handle and have the camera hang underneath. This movement makes your talent more impressive. In our second tip, we are doing another popular movement, the roll. When doing a travel, you can slant your gimbal slightly to one side. This will start a light roll in the same direction. To do this, you need to set the gimbal in the right mode. This slanting movement will immediately give more dynamic to your shot. The third one. The gimbal is a perfect tool to add some parallax to your shot. Just look for a foreground object and slightly move your gimbal to one side. This will give your shot more depth. Now to build further on those side movements. You film your talent in an arch around him. This works really good when filming in a close-up. Using a tele-lens makes the background move faster and thus focus more on the subject. In tip number 4, we are still moving around the talent, but this time we're doing a full circle. This is again an establishing shot, showing the audience where the talent is currently at. You can make the movement appear faster by asking your actor to turn slightly around in the opposite direction, making it more dramatic. Now we spin through to the 5th tip. With the Benro app you can control the movement of your gimbal. Many gimbals have such an option. This movement can be used in car scenes like in the movie Children of Men. You place your gimbal in the middle of the car and let it rotate to the actions happening in the car. By doing this you create a one take in a small place. Another great use for this is when vlogging alone. You can set your camera where you want and let it follow you by using the Benro app.
Tip number 6!
Yes, thank you for that Jordi. When doing a long travel with a gimbal, you often have this wavy bump in your shot. This is because you are walking and aren't a ninja. The most common tip here is to walk heel to toe and let your foot roll. But if you want your shot really smooth, use wheels. You can use a desk chair or skateboard and your gimbal to create a smooth dolly motion. You can always ask a friend to push you if that makes it easier for you. The next tip is perfect for B-roll or a mysterious talent reveal. In this movement you go up or down with your gimbal. You can for example start at the toes of the talent and then go slowly up to their head. This reveals the talent. In the next tip, the environment is quite important as it's going to be a big part of our shot. I call it the sky or the ground tilt. For example, you start your shot with your camera pointed at the sky. Then you tilt your camera towards your talent as you walk forwards or backwards. It works the same with the ground, but then tilt from the ground up. Again, a great movement for introducing your talent. Not everyone has a jib, and definitely not when traveling around. They are big and heavy and not really portable, but they do give a lot of possibilities for beautiful shots. However, in this 9th movement, we show you how you can recreate it without a jib. Just stand on something higher, like a box or a rock, then squat and go as low as possible. Slowly stand up and go high with your gimbal. With the gimbal set on free mode, you can turn the handle completely around the camera and make a large movement. Let somebody else operate the tilt and pan through the app to create a beautiful jib movement. In tip number 10, we mount the gimbal to a pole. We use the carry mode for this as it's easier to mount it this way with a super clamp. Aim the camera to your talent and lift the pole into the air with 2 people. We can then walk around and hover it over our talent or certain objects. It's pretty cool if you move over large objects such as a car. You can even make it more special by also operating the tilt movement. We are halfway through, guys.
Hey, Janik, where did you got 20 tips from?
Not from you, Jordy.
You, Janik!
But let's keep going. In the 11th movement we are creating a transition, more precise the whip pan, and it's quite easy to do. Just do the movement you want and on the end push the bracket to one side. Then in the next shot push the bracket to the other side and start your movement when the camera is back in position. Now one of the coolest movements personally is the pass-through. In this movement you use your gimbal to go through an opening like a window or a small hole. Let your friend wait on the other side of the opening, and when you push your camera through the opening, let him take over the gimbal and move further with it. For the next movement we are spinning again. Aim your gimbal towards your talent and tilt upward through the sky and at the same time rotate. Then do the whole movement again, but start from the sky and tilt down to your talent. In post-production you can then make a cut in the rotation of both clips and time remap it to make it blend better. Doing this in a forest or a city with high buildings will give a better effect. And for the 14th tip we are doing a crane movement. For this tip you need a very long pole on which you can mount your gimbal. Secure it on the end of the pole and now you can lift your camera high in the air and do a typical crane movement up or down. But if you want you can also walk further with your gimbal and the pole and thus creating a fluid motion. Now it's time for a time lapse with some cloning. We are going to place the gimbal on the tripod legs in the middle of the scene. Let your talent stand on a certain spot and rotate the gimbal around with the app. Then move your talent and rotate again at the same speed. Do this as many times as you want. In Premiere Pro, you can then sync all these clips and with some masking create a scene that has multiple clones. The 16th tip is used in many action movies, the leading and the following movement. Here you walk in front of your talent for a specific action, leading him. Do this action again, but this time stand behind him and follow. This movement is mostly used in chasing scenes, where you can switch between leading and following shots. In tip 17 we are going to walk over the gimbal, like really walk over it. Place your gimbal on the tripod foot and on the ground, and let your talent walk over it. At the same time you tilt upwards to keep a proper framing. As an extra you can use it as a transition, where you cut to a different scene when the actor covers the lens with his foot. Tip number 18 is a little bit more complex in execution. First we are going to put our gimbal in the carry mode and attach a rope to the handle. Make sure it's extra secure and safe. Then do your travel movement on, for example, a bridge, and when you come to the end, let your gimbal descend down. Your friend will be waiting there to take over the gimbal and move further. Super easy, no? For tip 19 you have to be careful, and I mean that. We are going to make a dead ride for our gimbal, or in professional terms, a wire cam. You just need 2 ropes, carabiners, a pulley and steel nerves. Set up a rope between 2 trees or strong poles and make the rope slant a little so that the gimbal will slide. Attach your gimbal to this rope with the carabiners and the pulley. Use a second rope as a safety so you can stop your gimbal when necessary. Then aim your gimbal with the app and let gravity do its work. And that brings us to the final tip. We are doing an object POV, like from a paper plane or a ball. Just fold your paper plane and attach it to your lens. Then you can move your gimbal and now it seems that the paper plane is flying and you are seeing from the POV from that plane. With other objects it works completely the same. Just make sure you are doing fast movements so it stays realistic. And those were my 20 creative gimbal movements. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you Benro for the support, and like always,
stay creative! Damn it, Jordy, stop interrupting me. But I want to say it, Janik.
Okay, you can say it.
Stay creative.
Stay creative, guys.